Right.
The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index hits record high, last up 2.6%.
Good morning.
At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we're expecting the University of Michigan sentiment prelim, forecast 51.5, prior 53, 53.3, the range of 54 to 45.8.
Just
US factory orders month
rejected.
for month, forecast minus 0.2%, prior 0.1%, with a range of 0.6% to minus 2.8%. Michigan expectations prelims, forecast 50.2, prior 51.7. Conditions prelim, forecast 53.4, prior 55.8. 5-year inflation prelim forecast 3.4%, prior 3.2%. 1-year inflation prelim forecast 4.2%, prior 3.8%. Also expecting US core durable goods revised forecast 0.5%, prior 0.8%, and US durable goods revised forecast minus 1.4%, unchanged from the prior.
Wow, that was a lot. Is he gonna let me talk forever? Jesus. Just rejected our 350, which is POC of our previous candle. Sell side trying to step in. We've got a lot of offside buyers above us on ES, up into these highs. Russell sideways, already filled gap. ES and NQ still have gap to fill. ES almost down to gap fill. We're about halfway through, just back to previous day POC. So NQ is holding up the most. Very clear support here at 300. Very clear offer at 350. Watching to see if we can flip through this 280 to 300 for the gap fill, or if we're going to continue to be able to maintain here with buyers here at our value low at 300s. Very clear value to value rotations happening on NQ compared to ES and RTY. I'm thinking that if ES and RTY kind of complete the sell, NQ can just stabilize here, and then it won't really matter. Yeah, might be a tech heavy day, which we haven't had in a minute, which is nice.
According to the Washington Post, US negotiators to ask Iran to release the detained Americans. So again, according to the Washington Post, US negotiators to ask Iran to release detained Americans.
Just back up to our 350 here. Off of a bounce at our 300s here again on NQ. Yeah.
The Washington Post cites people briefed on the plan for US-Iran talks.
This is where we are. So we held our 220 overnight, rotated up to our 280 300 target, and then flipped it, and then rotated up into our upper balance here into 370. So we're now in this upper distribution from Globex, right, where we're very clearly building out this node from our hold of our 220s, which is what we were looking for to happen yesterday, right? And now we're just balanced here. So pretty clear.
A reminder in 5 minutes'
Our
time,
two
expecting
edges.
the University Michigan sentiment prelim, forecast 51.5, prior 53.3, US factory orders month-on-month forecast minus 0.2%, prior 0.1%, University Michigan expectations prelim, forecast 50.2, prior 51.7, conditions prelim, forecast 53.4, prior 55.8, 5-year inflation prelim, forecast 3.4%, prior 3.2%, 1-year inflation prelim forecast 4.2%, prior 3.8%. Ukraine's military says it struck Russian drilling platforms in the Caspian Sea.
So again, very clear. Our two pivots right now. Again, just this 300 and then this like 350, above. We are just watching to see if we can start to show that interest over, so that we can start to rotate this and then trade up in this upper distribution, or if this is going to just hold here. This is just our sell from our previous attempt. Last sell was pretty ridiculous the last time we were here. Right, this is very clearly our highs. So unless something changes, we need to be very respectful that this has been our higher time frame sell for this entire balance. Right? So I am keeping an eye on it. A little scared of this area, just because it's been so ridiculously sell heavy for these rotations that we've been doing. But what's interesting is with this balance and how long we, chopped here in this rectangle for so long, that we might look above. We have this liquidity below. You get what I'm saying? So there might actually be a reason to believe that we do something new on this attempt. We held this for so long, and now we have all this liquidity below that's trapped. So coming out and taking out these highs could potentially make sense. But I want you to be aware that we are at the top of our rectangle into this 400, 370. Like these highs are very clearly our high of our range. So we need to see something very new, or I would expect more of the same, which is a rotation down, right? So I'm kind of coming in today with an understanding that this is all we should be expecting unless we see something new. I have a very limited upside kind of view on today, into 400s with this gap below, unless I can see us like look over first, right? If we can hold and maintain this gap, great. Then we can look for something like this, and then maybe we trade this upper area here, allowing for us to maybe, do something like this. I don't know. But I have to be respectful.
1 minute remaining. I'll be leading with University of Michigan sentiment prelim.
This rotation that we've been doing, which has just been a multi-month balance that we've been trading in. So that's kind of like the higher time frame logic here is just like, oh, well, we're at our top edge. And every reaction so far has been an incredibly serious, rotation down with a clear seller kind of invoking themselves. And so I want to be careful of that, but also respectful of our gap up, right? Because we haven't really had anything of this nature where we have so violently come back into our balance and gapped up, in such an extreme way.
47.6, lower than forecast of 51.5. US factory orders month for month, 0%, higher than forecast of minus 0.2%. University of Michigan expectations prelim, 46.1, lower than forecast of 50.2. Conditions prelim, 50.1, lower than forecast of 53.4. Michigan 5-year inflation prelim, 3.4%, as expected. 1-year inflation prelim, 4.8%, higher than forecast of 4.2%. US core durable goods revised, 0.9%, higher than forecast of 0.5%. And US durable goods revised, minus 1.3%, higher than forecast of minus 1.4%.
And something else.
Prior revised for factory orders, 0%, compared to the original prior of 0.1%.
Something else I want to point out is that we are in a so much worse position in our economy at right now comparatively to where we were
RTNZ
2 months
to
ago.
prevent inflation too high for too long.
Right. So like this move that we just did, this gap up, and I mean this entire play. I mean this is just like, excuse my language, but retarded. Right? Like this makes no sense. We're in such a horrible position economically. The markets are completely irrational, and this gap up to me seems more of a squeeze from shorts than anything else. So why would we break these highs?
Gained slightly after University of Michigan's prelim.
Is my question.
Consumer sentiment data for April.
And why do we think that this wouldn't hold and we wouldn't just rotate down? So that's kind of my viewpoint going into is it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be expecting more when everything is worse than the 2 months prior. But, I'm going to play what the market gives us. But that is kind of my mentality going in as we, test our top edge is, hey, we're at the top of our range and everything is worse. That being said, 300 to 280 holding is supportive right now. Very clear range that we're trading in on NQ. Watching our value low here to see if we put in a higher low or fail and reject to push below. Right? Can we build something like this for rotations back up? Or is this going to hold our edge and then get below for a continuation down? Yeah, 2K or 4K. More resolution.
We have posted the University of Michigan Sentiment April 2026 report on the feed for those interested.
A lot of absorption down here so far into our 280, 290. We get back over 300s and this was just going to rotate again. But if they are able to defend this 300, we're going to need to see a sweep below 280 for the gap fill.
We have posted the US Factory Orders February 2026 report on the feed for those interested.
As soon as we see a bid start to step in over 300s, we should just expect the full rotation. Just really keep an eye on this edge. Again, lots of absorption down here.
Switzerland aims to finalize US tariff accord by the end of July.
300 offer still holding, no change. Sweep below. Watching our 280 retest now off of that failure. Still just chopping between 280 and 300. I need to see a very clear look above and hold, or look below and hold for me to really do anything with this. With ES leading, I believe that upside is probably going to happen compared to downside on NQ, but I don't know. We have a very divergent market, but with this hold here and higher low, this is basically what we're looking to see on NQ if we can get it. Right, we're looking for something very similar where we build and accumulate here in this 280 to 300, and then we get a secondary buyer to step up over 300s, just like we're doing on ES at 866. So we're kind of getting a ES lead here with NQ not doing it yet. I'm just really keeping our eye on this edge. But like if they continue to absorb into this 280, 300, and then we get back into value over 300s, that's
here saying US likely
us
to
a free
approve extension of waiver,
15-point
allowing
move.
sales of some Russian crude oil as early as Friday.
So that's, again, really what I'm just watching for is, can we get this sweep below, or does this continue to just chop and hold here while we wait? Diverging market, but with ES leading up, where NQ is just holding our value low as our edge, right? Again, want to see this look up and then bid for this move to 350, or this failure here, failure to get back over 300s, build it below our value edge, and then our rotation below to fill gap. I don't have an answer for you yet while we absorb here. All I know is that we're below value. So as long as that continues to maintain true, your downside risk is very minimal. You're looking for that offer to continue to maintain here into our 300 edge. And then we're looking for that offer to move down below 280s for that continuation, right? Like if we're holding our value low, that's the idea. Again, our value low here is at this 300 to 296. If that can continue to maintain, then we'll look for the gap. If we can get back into value, I'll be looking for that as a retest for then the rotation up. RTY following with NQ now. ES just retesting our lows. Let's watch our edge here off of our bounce at our previous day value. See if we can find a lower offer here. ES still diverging. It's a really gross market so far. There's your ES move with us holding our lows. Retesting our edge now on NQ. Let's see if we get the full move. Again, just so much absorption down here. Us getting back into this range, we'll now look for the retest into this 300, 310. If we do, then we should be able to get the full rotation again off of a failure to break below balance and maintain. Three tens holding supportive so far. Just really watching this lower edge. Rotations up. Off of the failure to look below and hold. I was hoping for a little bit more. At least 36. Mm. You mean on the look back into value? Anything over 300. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to look for, a short? All we saw is absorption into our lows. You can't short. Trap and short for gap fill. Where? I don't see it. We're back inside value. I don't understand. ES never lost anything. Yeah. The only people who are trapped right now are sellers, very clearly. Below our 280, 300. As soon as we push back over 300s, it's just a long for our rectangle that we've been trading in, right? So like the only way that this would be a trap for buyers is if this liquidity here above our 310, 300 fails to do anything new, and then we look back below our value edge, below our 300s, then we can look for that as a trap. But until then, right, like all we've done is just fail to do anything from sell side. So all we've done is trap into these lows. I just took off my first risk into 36. Yeah, same. I'm long 300, 310. As soon as we push back into value, again, like ES never lost our edge. Russell lost our edge for 5 seconds and then just came right back in. But like if we have a mixed market, I can't short a slow plus mixed market that's diverging. It just doesn't, it's not a worthwhile trade unless I see like full market
Asian nations
confidence.
push the US to extend sanctions waiver on Russian oil.
Can you try like a very like short small risk trading off of your value edge? Sure, maybe, but like as soon as we push back in and show no interest below, guys, you gotta flip when we get back into value. Like you staying short as we rotate above value after a failure to push lower is just like, okay, well, what are you gonna hold it now all the way to value high? Like what's the plan? As soon as we push back into this, we're just trading in the same rotation again between this 310 and this 350. No? Or like does that not make sense? Right? This is why I said as soon as we look over 300, 310, like we go up to 350. Right? Because we just failed at our balance low to shift value outside. Right? Like we're trading in a rectangle. This is the look below and fail. Zoom out. Like if we were gonna hold, we would have held. Yeah. I mean, there was definitely sell side trying down here, but ES held, RTY held. we trapped, and then we popped back up. We opened new 15s above POC to value of our previous candle. So as soon as we did that, it's like, what am I shorting? We're above POC to value of our previous candle. So first of all, my short logic isn't there, right? Like that's your first step in looking for a short. Are we above or below POC of a previous candle? Because if we're above it, then like, what are we shorting? All of our buying participation is below us on that candle. We could look for a short into these highs, right? Because this is where we've been showing zero interest above. So this is why we risk off here. But like all we've shown is that we've absorbed into these lows, right? And that we opened above our value high of our previous candle, which is 310, if you can imagine that. So as soon as we see that, we open above, it's like, oh, okay, well, I now have to be looking for buyers to rotate us up to at least this these highs into our 40 to 50, right? Which is what we've been talking about. Because this is where we've seen that absorption at our highs. So now we have an offside seller below our value, and now we have a rotation up into our highs. What I'd be expecting is that because we have this catalyst below us, outside of our balance, that we are able to take out highs, right? Because now we have people who are offsides outside the market. Will we need to come down and retest this edge first? Maybe. This would then show us that this edge is secure, right, from our seller here. So it's a good risk off, just because we understand that this is where our most recent selling has occurred into this top edge. Yeah. Right? This is just the POC to value of our previous candles here. So we understand that this is the top of our balance. We can very clearly, we can very clearly see that without me having to draw it as well, right? Like this is just our tail of our distribution, right? This is offside liquidity outside of our value on our value edge. So even with drawings off, it's very clear that this is where our selling is occurring. So we should be looking to take off risk as we push into this, but we should be expecting that at some point, because we have this offside liquidity below us outside of value, right, and outside of our balance, we should be looking to use that liquidity to squeeze higher, take out highs. That's at least my understanding of what's going on off of this failure at our lows. My question is, do we get that on the first attempt, right, as we push into this? Are we able to just maintain here and go for it immediately? Or do we need to come back down and retest this edge first before we can go for it? Just, really confirming that this liquidity is offsides. But regardless, I take off my initial risk into our highs here because this is a known seller. So I don't know if we're going to pop or not. I have an understanding that the probability of us popping and taking out highs is more likely, right? Because we have this catalyst below, but I don't have it hasn't become a reality yet, and I don't trade off of what ifs, right? I'm trading into known participants. So as soon as we recover this low, I have to be a buyer. And as soon as we come into these highs, I have to be a seller, right? So I'm risking off because I'm trading around our two participants. We have very clearly value, sell side value here and buy side value here, right? This is what makes a range or a balance. So again, I've taken off 2/3 of my risk into our known seller, and now I'm watching to see if we come back down. Is this now going to be a supportive edge showing us that, confirming that the bid is here and willing to defend for a continuation out, right? If we can get this, then we know that we're good and that all of that liquidity below is offsides and that we should then be able to take out highs. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on as soon as we enter back into value off of that failure. Yeah. I'm only closing part of my position into a known seller. I'm not opening a short. And again, like the reason is there
OpenAI set to fall under EU's DSA and face stricter regulation.
there's no reason not to look for shorts here. Like if you were going to look for shorts anyway, right? Like this is the area where you're looking for it because we know that we're in a rotation, right? The reason why I'm willing to hold a runner is because of this offside liquidity below us, right? Because your risk right now is just, this is, I mean, it's balance, right? Like you can always short your top edge with very limited risk. Just put your stop above those wick highs. And then as soon as we enter back in, right, you're just looking for this reoffer, and then this is your first risk off into POC, and then your secondary risk off is into value low.
According to Interfax, Russia weighs 20% windfall tax on 2025 excess profits.
Right, like that's a no-brainer. But the reason why, for me, I'd rather hold is because we have the offside liquidity below. So I would like to see, again, we know that sell side is going to happen in the stop edge. What I want to see happen is that we hold our mid and then we look over our top edge and then continue on our way. To me, that's worth the risk of holding runners because I have a much better average if we aren't going to come back down to this low, right? Is what I'm saying making sense, or am I confusing you guys? I mean, it's just balance. Like, I don't really, like, if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, that's more confusing to me, to be honest. But yeah, no, I mean, you can definitely try to short up here if you're not already in a position, but your first risk off is just our mid, right? So if you're already in from the recovery of our lows, right, then it makes sense to try to hold for this mid hold for continuation up, right? Like this is why we're willing to look for continuation, is because if this mid can hold and we flag here, then we're in a very good position because our risk is down here, right? Whereas sell side, we're just watching to see if we can absorb into these highs. And then when we enter back in, you're just looking for this reoffer here into our top edge for this rotation down with your risks being like this. Right, we've defined the range. So now it's just a probability game of what makes more sense. And again, like the reason why we want to hold our position is that we have this offset liquidity below, so it makes me think that we take out these highs because we've now entered back in this range and this liquidity below has failed. So I'd like to see us take out these highs now as our catalyst. I'm out another 5 contracts there into 360. Just holding now to see what happens as we push our edge on retest. We've just taken out our wick highs here, so that's why I've taken off a little risk. Got another leg up that we can look for into 72s, but
Trump had a tense phone call with Netanyahu before Israel announced it would hold talks with Lebanon.
We're going to continue or fail.
That's according to CNN.
All right, highs taken, right? Risking off another 5. Now I only have 5 left.
Trump on Truth Social says Palantir has proven to have great warfighting capabilities and equipment. Just ask our enemies.
All right, so does that make sense why we look for the break of those highs? Because we have that catalyst below, right? So if we like maintain our bow low, then it's worthwhile holding our risk because we've saw so much absorption to those lows that becomes the catalyst. We then look for the highs to be taken. Again, I don't hold full position even if I have an understanding of target. You can do whatever you want. I like money. I don't like holding for full position. I like to take off as we go, but I like to secure gains. Some people will tell you that that's stupid, especially if we have an understanding of where we're headed. Do whatever you want, man. I don't
So it's a
care.
little spike in shares from Palantir off the back of the Truth Social post, where Trump says Palantir Technologies has proven to have great warfighting capabilities and equipment. Just ask our enemies.
Be your own person. I will always risk off as we go.
US Brent crude futures fall after sources say US likely to extend Russian oil waiver, last down about 0.5%. Palantir pairs decline after Trump post, down 2.1%.
So Rory, do you understand now a little bit more of like what my general thought was there, or no? Does that make sense? We're looking for that balance and like the rotation and whatnot. Of just like you don't want to get too lost in the sauce looking for that gap down if we don't have a market that has confluence.
Palantir pairs declined to 1.9%, had been down as much as 6%.
Yeah. If we had ES following through, I totally would have been with you on the short. Totally. But with ES holding our edge, it's like I don't want to short a diverging market that's slow. It's just like it's super hard because like that absorption could do exactly what just happened, which is like we just pop back in. So like as soon as we look over that 300s, it's just like we expect the rotation to at least 50. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I think that looking for those trap buyers is totally fine, but they have to be trapped first, right? Like we can't preemptively call them trapped buyers over 300s. You know? That's the issue, I think, is that you're preemptively looking at and calling them trapped without the look back below. As soon as we get that look back below, yeah, for sure, we can totally look for the short. But preemptively calling them trapped is not how the market works. Yeah, I'm trading with future trap traders. That's just like ego play, you know. What's up, Ali? Now that we've taken out highs, I have literally no clue what we do. I'd like to see us hold 350, 340, but we'll see. This is just our value high edge. If we can hold up here, then maybe we take out our overnight high, over 390. But that's going to be dependent on if ES and RTY can also hold these highs. So as long as we're holding value, there's potentially something here. If not, then this is just going to be absorption and then a rotation back through our range again. Aiming for that 250 PT off of a 25K account. Nice. Yeah, definitely doable, man. Just remember, like, I think like the biggest thing for people who are trying to make, you know, like 250 a day is you don't have to take every move that we talk about. You just want to be trading the ones that meet all of your criteria when you're trying to trade with very tight risk and looking for like a clear PT. Just wait for all of your criteria to be met, right? Like you don't have to scalp balance rotations if you're uncomfortable or if it doesn't meet your criteria. Just look for that one setup, because trying to make 250 is just one good trade. That's literally all that is. So you can be a bit more patient when your price target is so small, because again, like trying to make 250 isn't hard. It's not, taking 50 paper cuts beforehand while you're looking for that trade to happen. You just like only trade one setup and make sure like all of your criteria is met while you're making that, and then scale that. Just be very patient with with your trading. I don't know. I really think that like if you are being patient and waiting for all of our markets to be pushing in the same direction, and you're watching your POC previous candles for trend bias, and you're watching for really just those two things.
A US official says experts from the National Security Council and State Department and Defense Department are part of the US delegation to Islamabad.
Your odds of the trade being in your favor go up dramatically, right? And already you're at like a 50-50, right? Just a flip of a coin, buy long or short. So if you can add two variables to your system that give you edge, right? So we're talking about a full market participation is edge, right? You have a much better chance of playing in the right direction if the whole market is selling or the whole market is bidding at any point. It's better to take that long if the full market's bidding, right? It's better to take that short if the full market is selling. But also you have that trend bias with us. Are we maintaining above our POC to value of our previous candle? Is there very clearly a buying participant below us that is holding us up? If so, then it makes even more sense to try that long. Whereas like it makes more sense to try that short if we're holding below it. Those are like easy factors that you can input into your system before you take a trade that increase your odds from 50% to 60, 70%. And already you already have a winning position there. And then you can add more variables where it's like, okay, well, I want to see those two things, but now I have another thing that I'm only looking to initiate new trades on the open of new 15s if we are respecting those two factors, right? So now you're giving yourself a time frame in an area where you're looking for those trades to occur. So now you have three factors where it's like I'm looking for a trade on the open of a new 15, hoping for an acceleration to give me context. And if we're holding an opening there, then I'm willing to participate. Not, then I'm not touching it, right? So now you're becoming more and more picky with where you're looking to trade, and you are filtering out all of the B and C setups so that you're only looking at those A setups. And the more asymmetrical you can make it, right, like the better your opportunity is going to be, and then the less trades you need to be taking, and making that 250 goal is going to become easier and easier. And again, then it's just about scaling, right? If you can find that one setup a day, or that like two setups really, it doesn't really matter, but like if you can really filter it down and just wait for your checklist to be met, for you personally, right? Your goal is to get to that first payout. That's it, off of one account. And then use that money from your first payout to then scale by another account, right? Buy two more accounts, and then you can copy trade off of that, and then you're making 250 a day. But you're taking the exact same trades off that singular account, but you're adding leverage by having multiple accounts. So then you're still just making 250 a day, but now that 250 a day is 750, right? Now that 250 a day is 1,000 because you have multiple accounts that you're scaling with, still looking for the exact same trade. And as soon as you do that, then there's nothing really else to do, right? You're just scaling with your account size, with your accounts, looking for the same trade, trading the same setup, doing nothing different, but now having the ability to
Seeing
scale
a little bit of
vertically.
strength in WTI crude. Not seeing any headlines to explain the move, but we'll keep looking.
It's a full range rotation here. Just back to our entry here at 310s, no change. Absorption and highs held.
Seeing Iran's parliamentary speaker Galibaf say two of the measures mutually agreed upon between the parties have yet to be implemented, a ceasefire in Lebanon and the release of Iran's blocked assets prior to the commencement of negotiations. These two matters must be fulfilled before negotiations begin.
So this is what just happened is pretty important. We just did the full rotation, yeah? So what does this mean? It means that we still saw this absorption into our highs, right? But we took out our high first. That's what we just did, is we took out highs. We then saw sell side hold us and then rotate us back down to our bid, right? So now we've done the full balance rotation. Now the question is, after we retested into this liquidity here, we've shown that this buyer is very present. Is the seller going to be present from our sweeper down now? Watch your push into this edge to see if sell side is willing to defend and hold this. If so, then maybe we get our first lower high and then we'll look for this continuation down. But if not, right, like this buyer just showed that they're still incredibly active here and that we are willing to hold these lows, and then we'll look for that hold above. But you always are going to be looking for that re-offer off of that sweeper. But very clear bid still sitting at 300, 310, no change. I'm still in my runners there. I mean, nothing, like I said, nothing invalidated. I didn't get stopped out, but I could still, I don't know, and we'll see. But just a very clear range low hold off of our value, off of a failure at our highs, right? Offside liquidity here below. But just a value rotation, nothing crazy. Just watching our bid at 300, 310. Just rotation from our lows back up to our 40 to 50. Watch to see how we interact as we push into this. POC attempting to hold here again in the middle of our range. We're back in the market of Trump naming a stock directly for it to go up. You see that move that Palantir got? Trump just had to mention their name like they did anything new. Yes. Brother, these posts are a little delayed. Into our highs here. So you're playing off the lows. This is your first risk off into 40 to 50. Just into POC as we push. No change, just range rotation from a hold of our lows like we talked about. Watch to see if sell side sits here. Netflix is scheduled to live stream NASA's Artemis 2 splashdown from 4:30 p.m. Eastern today. Okay. Won't it just be on YouTube? Why would I watch it on Netflix? Like, what if we? Yeah, like, what are we talking about? Top balance holding across the board. Rotating down. Just back to our mid. Nothing crazy, just balance. Rejected our value high, now into our POC from our hold of our value lows. This liquidity is still maintaining offsides off of our initial sweep. Rotation down to our lows off to our hold of our highs. This is your first risk off if you're playing that as well. I mean, it's just balance, boys. I don't really have anything else to say. Until we see something shift, right? We've got liquidity trapped in highs, held our sweep, just rotating value to value. We can see some sort of move outside of value, then maybe we get something new. But until then, it is what it is. Full rotation once again off of our lows. Just balance. There's your rotation to your value high from our value low. This is POC on NQ from previous candle, as well as ES pushing up into POC of previous candle, as well as our value high. Just watch to see if sell side sits here again into our tail. of our distribution. Very clear D distribution with any sort of look outside resulting in a rotation back through our value, like we've talked about already. Looking for anything more just seems a little stupid, but you know, just risk off as we push in, leave a runner if you want.
Seeing Palantir shares pair some declines after Trump says company is proven to have great war fighting capabilities and equipment. Last down now about 2.1%. So just some added color then in regards to how much Iran has in frozen assets and what it's worth. So Iran has about $100 billion in frozen assets. Iran's foreign minister Araghchi says the US must adhere to commitments to include Lebanon in the ceasefire and hold Israeli attacks against Lebanon.
As we push down to our mid, this is your first target into 25s from a hold of our top of balance. Same thing with ES. Again, nothing new here, boys. Just balance rotation. Watch to see if we hold our mid, but Hold of our mid, pushing back up to highs, watching to see if they're going to be able to do anything new or if we're going to see the same sell. Give juice. I don't know, man.
CoreWeave shares extend gains, last up 12.3%.
Think we see 370 here? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, we're not moving, man. I have no interest. I don't know. We're just making like the slowest higher lows I've ever seen in my life. Nobody
Lebanese
cares
president
about my
says Israel's
position.
targeting of state
True.
institutions and security apparatuses will not deter us from upholding our right to protect our land.
Oh, now we for sure go to 370. Order filled. Thanks, bud. 30 seconds till new 15s. Just pushing into our highs. Incredibly slow market, but very balanced. Higher lows being put in. RTY sideways, market sideways. ES holding lows, NQ holding lows, pushing highs. Yeah, we're really going, Roy. Huge acceleration. Kill me. This is the slowest grind up. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it makes sense. With AI now, they can probably just mass produce them. Does your company do the AI security emails, the test emails for phishing?
According to Al Haddad News here, information about the arrival of the Iranian delegation in Pakistan is being kept secret.
Oh wow, they don't. That's crazy.
got Sofa from Al Haddad that says the Iranian delegation will participate in the negotiations tomorrow, despite Iranian and Lebanon statements.
Wow, this is just wonderful, wonderful price action that we're seeing today. Just the creme de la creme. About to go to sleep. You're about to boss, brother. For what? 5 points? Huge trade. Massive trade, some might even say. Yeah, it took a whole generation. Jesus. Any weekend plans? Yeah, I plan to not be on my computer. That's my plan. Your boy needs a break from this clown fiesta. So sick of this shit. Russell is just continuing to oscillate, and the market is slowly creeping up. But as long as you're playing off of RTY's double tops into our 30-second opening range low at 55, that's the top of the market until proven otherwise. Just like our value low here is our low, right? Like that's this. We're just oscillating on Russell, and the market is slowly creeping as we're doing that. But your like big major tops and bottoms are just based off of RTY structure. If you really want to trade this for some reason, I don't recommend it, but that is what the market is doing. It's just oscillating based off of Russell structure. If they offered me to go to the moon, would I? Like in our current with our current tech? Like what do you mean? Yeah, question mark. Buddy, our astronauts aren't even going to the moon, so how am I getting there? We haven't even built the lander to get us to the moon. The lander's not even built. So it was fake the first time. No. The new lander hasn't been built. You know, I saw a crazy stat the other day. Do you know what NASA's current budget is like 0.05 of our GDP? And back then, when we went to the moon, NASA's budget was 5% of our GDP. Like the amount we were spending was just insane back in the Cold War. Just absolutely insane. And now we're trying to like go back to the moon on like with like $0. Like we're trying to do it on like we're going to save a lot, boys. Like what do we? We're going to the dollar store. Dollar store moon mission. Hmm. You would argue that the world has become more efficient? I mean, yeah. But the engines that we're using to go to the moon, even on this trip, are much smaller than the ones we used to go to the moon the first time. Like, we're using a much cheaper, in totality, system than we did back then.
According to New York Post, Trump is preparing military if Iran fails to comply in talks.
Cheap isn't necessarily bad. No, I mean, it's not bad. It's just sad.
That's the New York Post citing Friday interview with Trump.
We're just gonna do a full rotation here. That's my guess. Back inside value here. Manufacturing has gotten more efficient. Yes, but also no. It's gotten more efficient if it was in the most corrupt and uh like the way that NASA works is that we don't use the most efficient manufacturing methods. We use the ones that are most politically
White House to Fox News says Trump is
incentivized.
optimistic a deal can be reached with Iran.
Like weird, like the efficiency isn't how NASA gets its funding. There's a reason why every component is made in a different state. It's also the same reason why we're using the same boosters as previous missions in the same capsule. It's because we had leftovers from a failed mission before, and we are trying to bring funding to specific states. It's very corrupt. But yeah, the sustainability is the biggest part of what's happening right now with the current Artemis project. So like with the program that got us to space during the Cold War, everything had to be on the initial rocket, right? When we broke through the atmosphere. So it required a shitload of fuel and a bigger engine, a bigger everything, right? Because we had to get everything in one go. With the new Artemis system, they're trying to create a refueling platform in space. So they will launch things separately, and then it will be refueled in space, so that they don't have to have as much weight on the initial push, which is a much more sustainable system, especially if we're going to go to Mars in the future, is having a refueling program that's in orbit. That's like incredibly important if we're going to actually do anything interplanetary. Is that in Artemis 3? It needs to be for Artemis 3, technically, if we're going to get there. they have to refuel in orbit because they're going to launch the lander separately. So even if we didn't go to the moon, we would still need that, technically. It would still be worthwhile. I think we have one more leg down. Just back down to 300s. Just at our mid of our range right now, bouncing right at our 25s, but should head back down to our 300 at least. Would you say we would have trapped buyers into this 55 edge? I mean, anyone over 60 is trapped. I don't know about 55. But, I mean, I guess short term. I mean, just look at your value on the day, right? Like anyone outside of our daily value is trapped. I'd say anyone over like 65 is just screwed. You've got a secondary pocket there at like your 55, 60, I guess, yeah. But the ones I care about really are just everyone over 70 is just absolutely screwed. There's a great video that George linked me, actually, of all people, which is crazy. That you guys might like. Actually, no, never mind. This isn't. George didn't link me this. Let me see if I can find it. I hate that they include shorts in your liked videos section on YouTube. That definitely has got to be like a separate thing. Get me out of here. Almost into our 300 target. Something to note is that ES is already at our value low. We have a bit of a divergence here. But our pivot on our lows here on ES at our 67 to 62 is just the POC to value of our previous, it's yesterday's value POC, right, to today's value low. We just created a zone out of this, watching to see if we're going to continue to maintain this, because I can't really be bearish on ES for continuation potential until we flip below this and hold POC as resistance. Then we can trade this edge down. But until then, right, we're just kind of balanced in between these two pivots, between previous day value high and previous day POC, right, on ES specifically. But if we can get this pushed down, I would love to see a flip of our 300, 310 for this next leg down into 270s again. If not, then this is just where I expect the bid to be. So you want to be risking off as we push down into this now that we're back into our value. Other than that, not a ton here, right? All we did was trade into our reversion zone and then rotate back through our value, and now we're into our value low. You're going to be looking for an access here as we push down into these lows and just a reversion to our VWAP, right? So I'd expect these lows to be taken just because we have offset liquidity above, but it's just another rotation. Nothing new. I'd expect a bid to be present here, and then potentially one more leg down if we don't see a huge rotation back up pretty quick. So you definitely want to be risking off a little, but try to leave a runner, I guess. But again, this like 300 area is where we should definitely try to see some buying happen again. Just watch our reversion zone on both ES and NQ as we push down into it. Again, the market is just a Russell rotation right now, like I said before. So as soon as we come up into these highs, it's just a rotation back down, and now we're back down into our lows, which is why I want you to risk off as we push down into that, respecting RTY as we push down, if it's going to continue to just oscillate on the day. If RTY wants to continue down, we should get a solid reoffer on our value edge, I would hope, and then continuation. But I'm just kind of expecting that we get something like this again.
Here. The only headline that we have is from 11:30, where New York Post cited a interview with Trump on Friday, saying that that Trump is preparing military if Iran fails to comply in talks.
Again, these are just our RTY lows after holding our highs again at our opening range low. Just a rotation and oscillation. We'll watch to see if Russell can get some follow through. If it does, then the rest of the market can go with it. If it won't, then we're just going to do another oscillation with a trap outside of value and then a rotation through said value. If you're not good with balance days, you don't need to be here. You don't need to trade. Like, I just want to remind people of that. Like, you don't need to be here. It's a slow day, man. You might not have edge today, but just understand what we're doing right now is just rotating value back and forth, trapping outside. And then as soon as we enter back in, it's full rotations through. Everything in between is just a slow grind while RTY oscillates. So bouncing at our reversion zones on both ES and NQ, retesting our value edge to see if we can get back in. If we fail to get back inside value and Russell can lead down, then we get another leg. Yeah. This is the video I was talking about. Good video. It was really loud. What was that? Is that me or is that the news bot? So this is the same area where we trapped below before. This is our 300, 310. Yeah. That's the same area where we attempted short before, and then we had to flip long on the flip over, right? I just want to point that out, that this is the same point. This is a new 15 that just opened. We have opened at POC to value of our previous candle. If we push back in, then this will be another rotation to the upside. This is our edge at our value off of our reversion zone. We have gotten a reversion zone low trigger. We've gotten our rotation up. This is your first target off of our reversion zone, right? Can we get back into value now is the question. Russell retesting our edge. Do you hear this guy screaming? Offer holding our value edge so far. No ability to look above. Watching Russell to see if we're going to get back into this oscillation or if this is going to fail. So far, failing on Q. Holding our edge low. No ability to look over our 300, 310 and bid. Rotating back down. Are we following? Do we understand? RTY is leading our market, right? So we're either going to break our cycle of balance with RTY leading down, or we are going to maintain and we are going to trap down here. So far, offer is holding our low just where it needs off of our value, which is a good sign if we're going to do something new. But understand that this is your first risk off regardless. But I would like to see Russell follow through to at least ETH low here, ideally, if we're going to hold this lower high. But always look to take off a little into our lows. It just is common sense. Later, Bezel. Have a good weekend, man. God, the lack of interest down here is just insane. These are the days where I like, if I cared more and I was like overly positioning, where I was expecting more, like I would be losing my mind. At this point, I'm just like, yeah, I'm in a runner and it doesn't matter to me. But like, if I was trying to get initial reactions off of our value edge and this is what we were doing right now, I would be livid. Like we're getting the move, right? Like it is paying, but like holy, does everything take a fucking year? Like I shorted our 40 to 50 on the re-entry back in, and I added to my position here at our 300 310. So now my average is 325. So I have a little bit of a buffer here with my short, but like if this move doesn't happen soon, like I'm just gonna close. I'd like to see this come down to 260, 265. But you know, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I just watch YouTube when we're doing stuff like this. I mean, there's nothing else to do other than just trade back through value. So again, like on days like today, like I don't really talk a ton because there's not a ton to talk about. Expecting continuation outside of value, it kind of just feels like a fool's errand. But as soon as we re-enter our value structure, right, like that's all that I care about. So this is just a runner trade for me that I'm looking for. But you guys see the value, right? Like we see our distribution. That's a great little risk off there. Yeah. Like this is the area that we care about. So anything like this is when you were going crazy, Rory, looking for 370 and then 400 and all of that, right? Like I just wasn't positioned. I don't care. Like I just look for this because like this is a free trade. This move right here to me is all I care about. We're in a balanced day, right? So as soon as we enter back in, it's just like okay, well, then I close into this, and then that's the trade. We're just trading value to value. But like now I have a runner where we're looking for this reoffer, right? With Russell leading down, and I'm looking to see if we can head down to our previous day value high here, right? Because we have Russell doing something new. So, but like on balance days like today,
CNN
right?
reporting on shipping data says only one oil tanker has passed through the Strait of Hormuz today.
Right, like all we're doing is looking for offside liquidity outside of value. Just like on the last attempt, right? All we do is look for that. So like, yeah, we're heading to target now. That's great, but I'm not, betting the house on it. We're just trading value. So there's our target. I'm going to take off another 5 here. Okay, no, I just fully closed. I didn't mean to do that. My DOM lagged. So I'm now fully out. That sucks. But that is target, so it'll be all right. Let's see what happens here into previous day value high. If this fails to hold, then we'll just be looking for a push down to 220 next from our 270. So let's just keep an eye on it. Russell's now into our target. This is what we were watching for with the breakdown. All right, this gives us our next leg. This is why we were looking for what we were looking for. So that Russell was just oscillating before, and we were just playing the rotations through value. So if we can hold our edge and now head down to our next targets, that's great. Yeah, you can look for the gap fill if you've got runners, but again, I'm flat. I didn't mean to close both, but I just closed 2 sets of 5 lots. This kind of sucks. I'm curious to see if we get the next leg or not. I'm just going to watch to see what Russell does, seeing as that's the thing that is moving our market. I now have to find either a re-entry or watch this next leg do nothing, or go without me, sorry. I'm assuming that it's just going to be going without me. That really sucks.
Seeing some further downward movement in the S&P 500. Again, no other headlines to back up the move other than what we had from 11:30 of Trump preparing military if Iran fails to comply in talks, according to New York Post, citing a Friday interview with Trump. And then just the latest headline we've put out: only one oil tanker has passed through the Strait of Hormuz today, according to CNN, citing shipping data. There's nothing else that we can see so far. If there is, we'll relay that to you as soon as we can.
Getting our bounce with RTY finding a low here into our ETH low and our pivot. ES at target at our 54s. I'm just looking for a re-offer point if we're gonna get it go down. If not, then we're just gonna bounce and come back up, and then I don't know, we'll see. But I'm flat looking for an entry. We expected a bit of a bid here. I'm watching our previous day value high at 70s for a potential entry here. Watching like 65 to 75 to see if offer's going to stick. That's your 1-to-1 there into 55. If you're playing 65 to 75, this is 10 points. Trade is now free, regardless of what happens. Same 1-to-1 as before, 55s. If you're still doing anything, I mean, nothing's changed. If RTY starts to lead up, then we don't get the move until we push up higher. If there's no desire to push lower, just watching Russell at our ETH low, seeing if we can hold. We can get this next leg. Again, this trade's free and profitable. Yeah, even if it stops me out, like I've made money, I've taken off more than just covering my stop. RTY starting to lead. Watching our pushback up to POC off of our stop out. It says POC, a previous candle here up into 290. Russell's still diverging, so I don't have a ton of faith in this move. It just feels like a lack of selling pressure below. So just coming back up to our previous seller. I'm thinking of this as a trap on a look above, and then we look for the reoffer back below for the same trade again. Once we see RTY starting to shift down and then absorption up here as we push back up into POC previous candle. That's my idea as of right now. This is just going to be a reoffer off of a failure lower. We have to look for and seek liquidity higher first. And then we just get the same offer again, where we look for like a trap into these highs. Just keeping an eye on Russell to see what it does here. On ES, I mean, there's really not much here. I mean, the only way that you get an offer that makes sense is if we see absorption into like these highs, just like the same thing on NQ. Or this is just going to be a breakout of a very tight range with no desire to push lower. We need to see a very clear absorption into these highs and in a trap. Or we're just going to rotate back up to like 70. Listen, like if Russell doesn't want to go down further, then the market's just going to come back up, right? And then we'll just do the balance again. We need to see clear trap above, and then I'll look back inside of our range, creating a catalyst for us, or this is just going to rotate back up, and then we just trade our rotation off of a failure here. Again, like if there's no desire, there's no desire. You don't force shorts if there's no desire. That's crazy. So we look for absorption, or we look for the rotation back into value, and then we play the value rotation back up, right? Like if they don't want to, if we flip our lows again, then we flip our lows, and then we just play the rotation. With this is all trapped liquidity. So we have to either see that absorption, or we'll just play the de-distribution on the day. So watch as we push into our pivot here, our 300, 310. This is our POC to value of our previous candle, as well as our value edge on the daily. Watching Russell. Again, if Russell doesn't want to sell, then we're not selling. This is 45 seconds till new 15s. Into our pivot here, 300, 310. I feel like a lot of you will miss a short and then do everything in your power to try to play the same trade again with different circumstances, just out of a complete and total emotional fear of missing out, instead of like just rationalizing, like, is there a better opportunity now in the opposite direction? Like, what do I need to see? Like, just understand that the lack of desire lower is a part of your thesis, right? It has to be part of your thought process now. So we want to see absorption here. We need to see the flip, or we're going to rotate back through. So again, like this is an incredibly important area now to be watching, because this is either going to be a full rotation back through value or a trap and then a look back through. So we need to watch to see which one it's going to be. But don't freak out. Without a, if like there's no sell side desire and it's just like a slow grind up, like you don't want to be short in that. Just like if there's no desire at our lows, like it's going to be very hard for you to feel comfy in that position. Like this is what it looks like on ES right now, right? What do we need to see for that sell side to make sense? Like, yes, we're at our edge, right? But the bid is just there. We haven't seen this guy get trapped up here yet. So this buyer is still fine. We need to see them get trapped into these highs, and then a seller step in and then offer lower, trapping that liquidity above, and then rotating us back down off of it. Because if not, then like this is just sellers trapped into our lows instead, and then the buyer stepping up and then pushing us back into value, and then all of this liquidity is offsides below, and then we just do the full rotation of our range. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't get so one tracked when like the opposite could be the truth instead, right? You're like if we don't see the seller up here who wants to participate and push us back down and then reoffer, then instead of a seller, it's just the buyers are winning, right? Like it's the same as before when Rory was trying to short the low and we were pushing back into value. It's like, if they're not there, you can't preemptively look for a seller. Either they want to sell or they don't. So if they don't, then we're going to go up until they do. This is why it's just, instead of like creating a bias, it's just like have a checklist of rules, right? Of like, your bias should be based off of your rule set, right? It shouldn't be based off of anything else other than that. So you just go through your head and you say, who's in control? What do I need to see for this, X to be true, right? And then you check off the list, and then you can create a bias, because now you have reasons for said bias, right? Other than just like, well, I think that this should be this way because I'm in a position and it needs to be true, or I'm wrong, or I'm gonna lose money. Like, what? That's not how it works. Like, okay, well, if we want to see this sell, what needs to happen for us to for this to be valuable? It's like, oh, okay, well, I need the buyers who are trying to push us outside of this lower balance that we just broke out of to get caught offsides. So it's like, okay, well, where would that most likely happen? Well, it's like, okay, well, we know that our last sell happened here into our value edge at our 300 to 310. So I'd expect if sell side was serious that they would try us here to maintain this seller, and that we want to then see buyers get absorbed up into these highs, and then when we want to see a seller step down and then reoffer this area, trapping these participants here. And then as soon as we can get back below into this balance before, then all of this liquidity above is going to be offsides, and we want to then see sell side get excited and show an interest below these lows, right? That would give us the idea that this is going to be doing something differently, right? Like, if sell side's serious, of course they're selling into this, right? But now what do we need to see? Well, we need to see this bid get pushed below, we need to see a lower offer, and then we need to see a sweep below this. And as soon as we see that, we know this liquidity is then trapped, right? And then we can feel a lot more confident playing off of this trapped liquidity as our risk comparatively. If not, then like this is just going to be able to flag here and bid, and then any push over will just play. Oh my god, this fucking trading view. It's just going to be a rotation of our range, right? Because we're just going to be flipping and holding. It's a flag, right? We're break of our balance, rotation up, bid stepping up. And then as soon as we get back into our value, this is just going to be a structural trade back up through our distribution. So it's like, it's really important to be able to like see that trapped liquidity and understand what that represents. So it's like, are we trading above POC of our previous candle? Are we still maintaining where we need to? Where does sell side need to be able to sweep below for this to make sense? Because like if we're holding it, then it's just a rotation between these two participants, this buyer that's down here and our seller who's above, right? Like that's very clear that we're going to be rotating in between. So like, can you short this edge? Yeah, because that's where our seller was, right? It's the reason why we stopped out at above 75s, because we understand that if we stop here, we're just going to rotate back up. So does it make sense for me to take a 20-point stop here if I know that that's where we're headed? No, I'm just going to stop out for 10 points, right, on my remaining contracts, because I know where we're going to go, right? We're going to go back to our previous seller off of that lack of desire. Like, just like having that rationale is incredibly important to be like, oh, does it make sense for me to stay in a trade and be offsides, 30 points when I know that that is where we're going to go if we breach through? No, of course it doesn't make sense. That's why we stop out. And then we wait. And now we watch to see if these participants are going to be able to hold this edge or if these guys are going to be offsides above, and then we look for the reoffer. Right? It's the same reason why we can expect that ES is going to head here. This is where our previous sell was. This was our value edge. Right? We haven't done anything new. All we're doing is trading back down to POC of our previous candle. That's nothing new. That's just where the desire is, right? We're trading between two participants. Can we find where those participants are trading? Yes, easily. Now create a plan around that. All right, so now we'll watch to see if the bid can hold our break of our bow, right, on ES and NQ with Russell maintaining our lows, or if we can flip back below and reoffer this, trapping this liquidity. Right now, this is just a retest of our buyer. So if sell side's serious, what do we expect to happen? What do we expect? Do we expect a full rotation back up to 300s, or do we expect a lower high if we're going to see sell side try to take control here and flip us below? What do we expect? This isn't a trick question. It's just we've created two micro ranges, right? We have a range here, right? We just bounced off our value high, and we have a range here. This is another accumulation, right? So what do we expect if sell side's serious? Like, let's use our brains. Should we expect that POC holds offer at 90? Right? This is where you'd expect your seller to be. So this would be your first risk off if you longed this edge, right, into our POC to value high. Because we expect that the seller sits here. We don't know if we're going to go back up to highs. We have no clue. So regardless of which way you're trading, you're watching two things, right? Sell side, you're expecting to be sitting, right? Like this is your, oh my God, can't talk. This has to be your first risk off as we push into this. Just like sell side would be looking for this high to hold and POC to be resistance, right? If sell side's going to sit, we're expecting them to try to be here to rotate us down. Right? It's just two clear distributions. This is where we expect sell side to be sitting. That's all I'm trying to get at. You expect the lower high if sellers are going to hold this. You have a hold of our value edge. We just bounced it. You expect that they are going to try to push us lower. This is just basic market dynamics, right? If sell side's going to hold, we expect them to do something like this and then be able to flip us below. If the bid is going to be able to hold, we expect them to try to build above this 300 for us to have some continuation potential, get back over this value edge. That will show us our interest that we need for a continuation up, right? It's the same thing in ES. It's the same exact thing. We bounced our lower value. Right? We just traded back into POC of our previous candle. This is why you don't short if there's a POC below us. You have to wait for that to flip. I think news is about to come out. Crazy little bit of volatility there.
Trump on Truth Social says Iran doesn't seem to realize they have no cards other than a short-term extortion of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. So again, Trump on Truth Social says Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards. The Iranians and the only reason they're alive today is to negotiate.
Basic. $30 seconds till new 15s. So my whole point of like narrating this area is I just wanted to show you that you can have made money on both sides without actually having a breakout, because we understand where our pivots are, right? So this 65.75 trade just traded into 90, which is exactly where we expected our sell side to be sitting, and then has come back down to our pivot. Yeah, like that right there is a trade, because we've done everything right. We have found our previous buyers where we expect the price to be. We found where we expect our sell location to be. Everything is right and was profitable with over a 1-to-1 risk to reward, right? With no invalidations. Same thing on our sell though. Our sellers maintained it as well, right? From the same pathing that we gave. Both of these trades are valid, and we're just trading within a known buyer and seller while we wait for the market to figure out what it wants to do, right? Like this is a viable trade that offered a great 1-to-2 risk to reward, playing off our POC of this upper distribution to our to these wick highs, right? This offered the same trade, even though we haven't broken out, but we understand, right, that we're trading between this buy side liquidity here and this sell side liquidity here. Has anything invalidated? Have we been able to get a secondary leg in either direction? No, right? But that's your first risk off for either side of this trade, and it makes sense. Nothing has invalidated about this idea here, right? With these this seller being here and then looking for the secondary leg down back below inside this value on a retest. Same thing with this pivot here.
Blackstone said to work with Goldman Sachs on data center IPO. So Blackstone eyes $2 billion IPO for data center acquisition firm.
I just really
Citi and Morgan Stanley also said to be working on the IPO.
This is the same concept that I was talking about yesterday, where it's just like, you guys are looking for too big a move sometimes when there's clear moves with amazing probability, where if you just took the profit that's being given to you, you take the liquidity that's being given to you, and you're playing the rotation, like you can make money in that. The problem is when you're trying to get these huge moves that are over leveraged that don't make sense, right? That you don't have participants to be trading around, that it's just like, I don't know. Like, could you have made money on this? Yeah, definitely. Just like we could have made money on the 65 to 75 on the push down. We don't need huge moves to make money. That was a 1 to 1.5 trade there. But it was offered for free, right? Just like this rotation back up into these highs, our 300 to 310 that we've been playing off of all day. Like, there are obvious setups that you guys ignore because you're looking for something new for some reason, instead of just what has been given to you for free based off of our zones. And for some reason, like the free liquidity, right? The free pivots that price is trading around, our participants, just doesn't seem like good. And I don't really understand. Like, if we're just rotating between two nodes, then like those nodes are going to be what's viable. What? I mean, I just talked through both sides. What do you mean? The whole reason I walked through this entire area is because Komodo asked where that seller would be. So I walked through both the buy and the sell side of what to be expecting and where to expect it and when it becomes true. What did we talk about this is offside liquidity? Well, if this lower bid isn't going to be able to hold, we're going to rotate back up to our previous sell, just like on ES and on NQ. So you can either attempt this high or look for the reoffer. Where do we look for the reoffer? Well, we're going to be watching Where was the buy last, right? It was at the 65 to 75. Where do we expect that sell to be? Well, we expect it to be at the POC to value of this upper distribution that we just traded into, right? That's the entire thing that we just walked through with pathing. We just rejected POC to value of that previous candle, as well as that distribution that we had written up. We got our look below 65.75. We got our push down to these lows again. This is your secondary risk off, right? Into these lows. The entire trade was planned and talked about. Both a long idea into this, if you wanted it, or the offer into the highs, or the flip. This is also a viable trade. All of these are viable trades. They're just not huge moves, but they are all profitable with over 1-to-1 risk to reward, with very clear risk off. Like, I don't... I'm not expecting anything crazy until Russell breaches this zone that we're trading in right now. It's just a distribution, but until we see something new, I just kind of expect this to float. So again, it comes back to the idea of like, this whole creating a bias thing in my head is screwing me up. Should be thinking about both sides, of course. Yes, but like, remember, what did Komodo ask? Reoffer here would be what, like 61, 63 on ES? It's like, okay, well, where did we sell last? Yeah, like that's where we're going to trade up to once we fail at the lows. So just look to see where we sold last, and then just watch what happens as we push into it. Look for that reoffer, right? Because then this liquidity then becomes trapped, and then we look for that rotation lower once we've now seen a trapped trader outside of value, right? That gives you your risk parameters to then trade around, right? All of a sudden, on the open of the new 15s, we're now holding that value structure, and this liquidity is offsides above. Right? Same thing on NQ. Yes? This liquidity is now trapped into our previous seller. We get our retest, and then we get our rotation down. Right? Are there questions about that? Like, actually, though, like, it's important to understand what I'm talking about. Do we understand that, like, if sell side doesn't have a desire to hit these lows, that we're going to come back up to where there was before? Think about it like this. If there is no longer, I mean, it's an auction, right? So you have to think about where people care about price, right? Is there a desire to push lower? Is there a desire to trade lower? If there aren't enough buyers down here, or sorry, if there aren't enough sellers willing to sell
say that China has indicated it will
at this
halt
price,
exports
we're
of
going to have to
sulfuric
come back
acid
up
from May.
to where people actually want to participate first before we can then seek lower. We need to then trap, right? Like if there's no desire here, we're gonna have to come back up to where there was desire previously. And then from here, we then watch to see what happens once we've come back up to that point of our previous auction. That's literally, that's all it is. It's just a lack of desire. It's like, oh, okay, once we trap, then we can take out lows. Because now we have a catalyst for this trap, or for this low to be taken. Right? Like that's how we break lows, is we create a catalyst, we create a trap. Now there's a reason, there's a liquidity event that now causes that low to be taken. Right? We've trapped this buyer up here. Okay, now we reoffer POC to value, and then we rotate down, and then we go to our next target. And now all of a sudden, we've made tons of money by either playing off of these highs or just the 65 to 75 flip, right? This is a huge trade just playing off of 65 to 75 flip, not even having to do this edge here, right? Just following our pathing, understanding of where we expect that seller to be as our catalyst again, and then just watching for that flip below. And as soon as we get that, now all this liquidity above is offsides, and then we play this edge retest with this offside liquidity above. That creates our new low. That's the entire premise. Do we follow that concept? I need people that aren't the same 3 people that talk in chat to answer me.
Nasdaq
Do you
100
understand or
index
no?
erases earlier gains to turn negative.
Yeah, I don't need you to say following. I need the ones that are lurking. Do they understand or no?
The S&P 500 turns lower, last down 0.2%.
Because like this is such a basic concept of like how you actually can make money scalping. It's like, what are we looking for and where are we looking for it, right? Like that's your thought process going through it. Okay, I mean, that was probably my last trade of the day. Nothing really else to do other than that. Full pathing is now played into next target, 220 to 180. This is our pivot from yesterday. If we flip back in, then you're back into your multi-week balance. If this holds, then this is where we expect buy side to be. This is our retest, again, of our pivot here where we bounced yesterday. This is our previous day POC at 220s. Just watch as we push into this edge, see if this buyer is still present here, or if we're going to be able to push back below, re-offer this like we did yesterday for rotations back to like 150. But this is our edge. So it makes sense to be risked off here now that we've gotten this rotation. Right? And again, like this is just a value rejection. There's so many easy trades on the day, right? Like this morning, we just traded balance between our value to value, and any excess outside resulted in a full rotation back up and a full rotation back down. The thing that drove this price to finally do something new was what? What was the thing? What changed? It wasn't NQ and it wasn't ES. What changed? What allowed this move to play? For the next leg down, for the expansion. What was it? Yeah, RTY breaking our oscillation. Yeah. That gave us our next leg. So again, if you don't like balance, right? What do you just need to wait for? Just wait for a shift, right? And then full market participation outside of value. Okay, now all of a sudden you have a value rotation where value low is holding as resistance across the board, and we have Russell follow through. Okay, now we're going to go for the gap fill. right? That's what creates this leg down and a shift outside of this D distribution. Do we see that? At least in hindsight of why that made sense? Do you see it structurally? Do we see why these things make sense? And like, again, like on a balanced day, why we look for liquidity outside of value as a rotational thing until we have a catalyst and a reason to expect expansion. And then as soon as we do, then we can play that down to a target. Hopefully you do, because I'm not
According to the
seeing
Wall Street
questions
Journal,
or
Wall Street
answers or
builds new
anything.
tool to bet against private credit.
But it's 12:46, so I'm out of here. I don't really know what else to say. All right, you guys have a good weekend. I don't really understand what's happening.